Hello everyone. In today's video we're going to be doing is, could otters survive on Skull Island? We'll start with the living and the extinct otters. So let's get started, shall we? The African clawless otter. For their habitat, they will live in coastal plains to semi-arid regions to densely forested areas. Lived in areas surrounding prominent bodies of water. Usually surrounded by some form of foliage, logs, branches, and loose foliage greatly appeal to the otter, as this provides shelter, shade, and great rolling opportunities. Slow and rather clumsy on land, they build burrows in banks near water, allowing for easier food access and a quick escape from predators. They are observed to been scavenging along beaches and rocks and hunting in shallow surf for mullet. They are mainly nocturnal in areas and light up during the day in quiet, bushy areas. And for their diet, they would prey on water-dwelling animals like crabs, fish, frogs, and worms. In Hadriodon, for their habitat environment, they would live in floodplains, rivers, and and wetlands. And for their diet, there are species of Enodrindon for different ecological niches and prey and diet. There are so many to choose, but let's start with the Indian subcontinent species, E. falconeri and E. silvarensis. The two of them were both specialized for eating shellfish. It has been suggested that the thick enamel in the posterior dentition of Indian Anhydrydon species makes them more molluscivorous rather than carnivorous. In contrast, the Indian Cyberonyx species are suggested to have combined shearing function of the carnassials with overall bonodont crowns to prey more on crustaceans. But the larger species in Africa of Enhydriodon, aquatic and terrestrial prey, like juvenile crocodiles, turtles, and ostrich eggs. But they would eat fish, fast swimming fish might have been unlikely to have been regular food source due to the specialized dentition for crushing hard food, in addition to large animals likely not having the ability to catch fast prey. The African Enhodrida could possibly hint a semi-aquatic as well as terrestrial lifestyle, meaning that it could eat both aquatic prey and terrestrial prey. In Heterotherium, for its habitat, they live in both freshwater and coastal marine habitats. And for its diet, this species was adapted to eat tough foods like crabs and shellfish, like the sea otter, but was not strictly limited to this food type, following several lines of reason. Firstly, modern populations of sea otters are not exclusively dirophagus, tough food eating, and some populations have been known to eat significant amounts of fish and cephalopods. And Anatrotherium was well adapted for catching fish and other moving prey. Eurasian otter, for their habitat and environment. They would live in freshwater like lakes, streams, rivers, canals, and ponds. It prefers the open areas of the streams and also lives along the coast in salt water. And for their diet, they would mainly eat amphibians, worms, clams, crustaceans, insects, eggs, birds, and sometimes small mammals, including young European beavers. It will also feed on a small amount of vegetation. The giant river otter. Although primarily terrestrial, it occurs in freshwater rivers and streams, which generally flood seasonally. Other water habitats include freshwater springs and prominent freshwater lakes, and four specific vegetation type occur on one important creek: riverbank high forest, marsh mixed marsh and high swamp forest, low marsh forest, and for their diet, they would feed on fish such as piranha and catfish. And the giant otter seems to be opportunistic, taking whatever species are most locally abundant. If fish are unavailable, They will take crabs, snakes, and even small caimans and anacondas. Megalenhydras. For their habitat, they would live alongside coasts and waterways, and possibly offshore islands. And for their diet, they would feed on large fish, crustaceans, shellfish, and mollusks. North American river otter. For their habitat, they both lived in freshwater and coastal marine, including lakes, rivers, inland wetlands, coastal shorelines, marshes, and estuaries. It can tolerate a great range of temperature and elevations. Like otter, like other otters, they live in a holt or den constructed in burrows of other animals or in natural hollows, such as under a log or river banks. An entrance which may be underwater or above ground leads to the nest chamber, lined with leaves, grass, moss, bark, and hair. And for their diet, they would eat fish, frogs, crayfish, turtles, insects, and small mammals. They are known to hunt in a mated pair or alone, and can hunt on both land and in water. It is a predator adapted to hunting in water, feeding on aquatic and semi-aquatic animals. Cepharium. For their habitat, they live in lakes, many waterways. They would eat fish and invertebrates like clams and mussels. Sea otter. They inhabit coastal waters, usually less than half a mile from shore. Rocky shores, barrier reefs, tide waterstones, and dense kelp forests. And for their diet, they eat sea urchins, crabs, clams, mussels, octopus, fish, and other marine invertebrates. San Miguel. For their environment and habitat, they would live in rivers, lakes, streams. And for their diet, they would eat large shellfish and freshwater mollusks. Smooth coated otter. for their habitat. They mainly live in fresh water is plentiful such as wetlands, seasonal swamps, rivers, lakes, and for their diet, they mainly preyed on fish, and they also hunt rats, snakes, amphibians, and insects. And that's it for that video. Could they survive? Well, it's 50-50 because mammals. Let's start with the birth rate of otters. The sea otter typically give birth to one pup per year, but can have longer breeding into versatile and give birth to every 2 years. If they gave birth to two pups, they may abandon one because they can't take care of both of them. Sea otter pups weigh at 1.4 to 2.3 kilograms at birth and stay dependent on their mothers for 6 to 8 months before weaning. And for river otters, usually have litters of 1 to 3, but can have up to 5 kits. The gestation lasts about 61 to 63 days, and pups are born in April or May. May fully furred but blind and toothless. Their eyes open after 30 to 40 days, and they started eating solid foods after 9 to 10 weeks. Adult otters may provide food for their young for up to 40 weeks. But what about the extinct prehistoric otters? What are their birth rates? Is it the same as their modern relatives, or is it different from them? I could not find information about prehistoric otters' birth rates. What do you guys think of it? Anyway, like and subscribe, and see you later, guys.